Are you frustrated with online dating? Confused by all the new apps and fancy dating sites? Do you find yourself choosing the wrong person again and again? Well, studies show that hiring a dating coach can maximize your online dating experience. So no worries, I've got you. And I've created a virtual course called Doing Dating Right. It's a 5-video series that you can complete at your own pace in your own space, right at home. How to write your online dating bio, pick that perfect picture, and so much more. Want more info? Go to my website at jenniferhurwitz.com. Again, it's jenniferhurwitz.com. Good morning. Good morning. This is Doing Relationships Right. I'm Jennifer Hurwitz, and I'm your host every Tuesday and every other Friday for a Just Jen episode. This is a Tuesday, and if you're watching, you can see who I have with me today. You probably know her because you probably follow her, and if you don't, you need to follow her. This is Talia Bombola. Did I say it right?
You nailed it. Thank you.
Yes. I was so nervous today. I did a little Facebook or Instagram live thingy for you, and I was like, "Is it Bombola? Is it Bombola? Bomb?" So I did it right.
You did. I heard. I was like, "Yes, that is me."
Okay, good. So Talia Bombola. Did I say it wrong?
Bombola.
Thank God. Now I'm going to screw it all up. Oh, it's so nice to have you here. Hi, honey. How are you? It's nice to meet you.
I'm good.
Okay, so Talia, you are a confidence and assertiveness specialist.
Yes. So I work as a relationship coach for women, and I'm also a licensed marriage family therapist. And my kind of zone of genius within therapy is what's called psychodynamic therapy.
I need to know
very
what that
depth-based. Yeah. It's from how do your childhood and early childhood interactions with your parents and primary caregivers set the tone and foundation for how you move through the world?
Okay.
And what impact does that have on you long-term, whether it be positive or not so positive? I usually work with people when they are realizing the not so positive effects of it. And they're like, oh yeah, I didn't realize that's how much this had an impact. Like seeing how my parents' marriage went is entirely dictating my whole life. And I'm like, yes. So how do we want to work on that? So I'm very strengths based. I don't do shame, judgment, anything like that. I'm very strengths based. That's where the confidence and assertiveness comes in.
I love that. I love everything about you, and I stalk you.
Thank you.
I think you're
I'm
awesome.
honored.
I stalk you, and I love you, and I think you're awesome. And I also think that my son, I cannot make this about me. I need to go. We need to move forward. But for 5 seconds, I'm going to make it about me. About me. My son wants to be you. Like what you do is exactly what he wants to do when he grows up. So as I'm listening to what you're doing, I'm like, that's what Zach wants to do. He's going to college at Syracuse next year for this exact thing. So
perfect.
I'm going to have him maybe reach out to you and say hi.
Yeah, totally. That would be great. Yeah.
Selfish Jen, party of one. Okay, now I'm moving forward and talk about Talia. Okay, so I have so many questions for you. And I think that my listener is going to be overwhelmed in an amazingly awesome way today, because most of my peeps are divorced and they're dating after divorce. But I think that we are very much alike because we talk about the same thing. Women are anxious.
Yes.
I think we're just anxious about dating in general.
Yes.
And like, we don't know what to do, and we don't know why these guys aren't calling us back and why they're not texting.
Yep.
What the hell? Talia, tell me, I'm going to stop talking.
What to do?
Yes, but start with me at the beginning, how you got into this, your story. I'm going to be quiet and we're going to listen to you.
So how I got into this originally, this focus, was I think how most people in self-help and self-development do through their own journey. I started therapy a long time ago, like over 15 years ago. And my therapist had a really positive impact on myself, my life, not only then, but for the rest of my life. And I wanted to give that gift to other people for them to be able to believe in themselves and see an entirely different narrative or reality that was possible, to separate from what the family expects you to be and then choose the life that you want. So I would say my main reason for wanting to do this is giving back to others what I was able to receive growing up, and still now do. I love going to my therapist. I love my mentors and my coaches. They help keep my head on straight. And that's the relationship coaching where that comes in, because I was myself very anxiously attached and frustrated. I couldn't understand why I felt the pressure that I did towards men, why I felt this need or this longing that I didn't want to be abandoned. I didn't want to be left alone. I couldn't sit with myself, and I was lying to myself back many years ago that I loved all parts of me and everything was great, right? Not necessarily the case. And once I really took the mask off, got deep, did the shadow work, went to those icky nitty gritty parts of myself that I was afraid anybody else would ever know that I had, the fear went away, and there wasn't that deep sense of, oh my gosh, well, what if they find out that I'm not good enough, or I'm not fill in the blank enough for myself or for them, and they're going to leave. And it's like that fear is what keeps people repelled from wanting to get close. It's not the parts of you that you don't like. It's the narrative you have around who you are as that person. And so
Say
I
that
really
again, Talia.
strive.
I want you to say that again. I
Yes.
really do. Because I don't think women and men too, we don't get that. It's so important. It's
not your actual shadowy dark parts that you're afraid of that keep that person from wanting to be with you. It's the narrative that you have around that and how you show up in a new dating or a long-term relationship based on your own self narrative.
I love
My
that.
belief is it starts from within. Once you can see yourself in all parts of you and love and accept them for who they are, light and dark. And I tell my clients, you're going to have self-compassion, because we do deep work. You're going to meet parts of yourself that you don't like very much, but you need to thank them because they got you to where you are today, sitting in front of me, doing this work. And once you're integrated, and while you're integrating, you can date, but what a gift to give the person that you are more integrated when you go out and start dating again, and you've licked your wounds and you understand what your contributions were, even if, and especially if you were blindsided by your partner not wanting to be with you, or you didn't initiate a divorce or a breakup, you still had a contribution. You are a participant, maybe not as awake as others, but you are a participant in that relationship. And it behooves the person to do their own inner work before getting into another relationship.
Have some accountability for what went wrong in the relationship, right?
Yes, accountability is huge.
Yeah, I know, that's what I tell my clients too, but some of them can't listen, can't hear that.
There's a lot of defense structures.
Yes,
I think that's kind of where the psychodynamic psychoanalytic lens for me comes in, that we all have defense mechanisms, and we have our persona, which is the person that we show to the world, is kind of like that mask. And that does a really good job of protecting ourselves deep down from ever being seen as the real us. If you can accept the real authentic you, you can take accountability. But if you have those kind of defensive structures in place, they're going to defend not only against the other person seeing that part of you, but against you seeing that part of you and being able to take accountability for it.
It's a lot, right? It's a lot to unpack. And I think that people that come, my clients that come to me, I don't do this, I would send them to you first. And I would have them, you work them out for me, and then I'll help them date.
Do the deep work. Yes. Yeah.
We make a great pair. I say this to
I think so too.
Yeah. Then send them over to me and I'll write their bios and get them out there.
Perfect.
But, a lot of people come to me and they say, like, Jen, I have my phone. I have to put my phone in the other room because I can't, I want to text all day long and they don't text me back. And I'm wondering why. And it's just, and my head is spinning. And because I was there before I did the work, I was there. Right.
Yes.
It's hard. But then I think to myself, and this is my question for you and what I wanted to unpack a little bit today. Do you think, and correct me, I mean, trust me, this is just my opinion. So it's whatever. I would love to know your answer to this. I tend to believe that if we were more honest and upfront in our relationships, and we didn't play games, and we valued each other's, I don't want to say flaws, that's not the right word, but like
differences,
thank you. In the beginning of the relationship, we would lessen the anxiety that comes with it. So like, okay, thank you. So like, let's say that, for example, you sat across the table on the second date and a guy said to you or to me, look, I'm not a great texter. I'm just not. I'm not a great texter. I'm not good. It's not who I am. I'd much rather talk in person or on the phone. I'm just going to let you know up front. Then six dates in, when he's not texting you, you say, oh, wait a minute. He told me on date 2 that he's not a great texter. I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to realize X, Y, and Z. So I feel like it's this whole cycle we get into.
Yes.
Am I wrong?
No, I think that's a very accurate ideal depiction of what I wish dating and relationships would be like.
Why can't we just be like that, Talia?
Why can't we just be effective? I think it relates to what is the fear underneath it, right? Are we afraid of being rejected? Are we afraid that that's not what the other person wants or needs? Are we not really willing to take ourselves to task to be better at that skill, especially when it comes to communication?
Absolutely.
In a largely technology-driven, fast-paced world? That is a skill that we do need to work on if it's not already in our wheelhouse. And are we ready to actually do that, right? Is that person sitting across from either one of us on this date saying, and deal with it, or I'd like you to know that about me and it's something I'm working on myself about? Those two responses would let me know, if I were single and dating, that's a person I'd want to be with if they gave me the second response, right? Do you have self-awareness of how this behavior you're aware of might impact me? Or are you just going to tell me
Right.
to deal with it? Tough
Right.
noogies.
That's a great point.
You know, and I'm not a good texter, so whatever,
Yeah.
right? It's like that
Right.
defensive ego, like
Right.
aloof response.
Right.
No, thank you. Right. And
Right.
that might work
Oh, no.
for somebody. That's their choice. I'm all
Sure.
about choices
Right.
and agency.
Yeah.
That's not my choice. And again, this goes back to if you've done the work on yourself, don't be the cool girl and be like, yeah, that's totally fine. If
Which
it's
is what I
not
used to do.
fine, me too.
Yeah.
If it's not fine, be okay with the other person and you maybe never going on a date again because
Right.
you both told the truth.
Right.
Right? That's what you're saying too. And
Yeah.
I believe and I agree with that. If you're more open to, oh, okay, thank you for letting me know. I've actually learned that about myself. It's really important for me to have high touch and high
Exactly.
communication.
Yes.
I'm willing to give this a try and I will let you know how it's going on my end and in our dating experience. But
Yeah.
there may likely be a time where I really need that. And if you're not going to step up to the plate, and it's not saying it as like a threat,
No.
but if they're not willing to do that, okay. And I'm really big on, instead of you staying with somebody and trying to make them into somebody you want them to
A
be,
square
even
peg
though
into
they're
a round
not
hole.
that,
Don't you love that?
just let them go and find somebody who actually matches the description. But that's also largely based on how much do you accept yourself and how worthy do you feel, because you do have to show up differently when you find the person you've been asking for. And I've worked with a lot of clients.
Yeah,
let's go
let's
there.
unpack that. Let's unpack that.
Yeah.
When do you know? Okay, so when do you know that you like? Where's that fine line between I'm going to stay and hang on and and you know and then I'm going to. That's always when I was dating. That was my issue. Like, okay, how many excuses do you make, or are they really excuses? Or
Correct.
do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know,
what is the fine line? Like,
right.
where's the line drawn?
Where do we say, like,
yeah.
do I give, you know, are you changing a person? Are they changing for you? I don't like to hike, so he doesn't. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
yes, yeah. I think you can give, because human beings are human beings, that no more than 3 chances. And this is talking about, let's see if it's enough. Like, I don't want to jump anxiously to the conclusion that one time a person does a behavior, it's the pattern, and it's going to I'm not going to catastrophize. So I don't think only basing it off once, unless, caveat, it is a big red flag or an ultimatum. I'd rather be alone than be with somebody who is a drug addict, right? And they do that. That's an automatic no. There's no need for 2 more chances. Like, you've crossed those kinds of behaviors. We're done.
We're done. That's
if it's a preferential behavior, like, oh, I would like them to text me in the morning, or they did my coffee wrong, or they like hiking and I did, right? Some lifestyle differences or preferences. Give it again, no more than 3, but see if it's a pattern. It may not be at all. You just may have created it in your mind. Give that person an opportunity to show you who they are, rather than you painting who you want them to be. And especially with women talking to men, they need to hear what I'm about to say. And if it hurts your feelings, I apologize in advance.
Don't just say it, Talia. Say it. I know what you're going to say.
That do not misinterpret what they say and twist words like you would with another girl. Women do not communicate the same way men do. Men mean what they say. They're very direct. There is no subterfuge. Oh, let me say this, but mean this, and look over here, but it's really over. They don't do that. Some do, of course. There's outliers. On a standard way, the testosterone-driven brain does not orchestrate their life the way that an estrogen-driven brain does. So don't twist.
So how do we stop them from doing this, though? How do we stop them?
How do we stop women from doing this?
How do my clients, me, everyone? Like, I mean, how?
Tell the world.
Tell everybody, get on the like. What? There has to be a way.
Yes, the way is through not expecting yourself, or men especially, to be like a woman, or to be like you, right? Because this is where, and I'm sure perhaps you can share this as well, your clients can attest to this, rather, that my frustration stems from, well, they're so lazy, incompetent, unemotional, stupid, whatever negative trait word inserted there, compared to who? Oh, me, my best friend, my mom, female archetype, or myself. They're not lazy compared to a baseball. They're not lazy compared to a tree or a baby. Like, they're not. You're comparing them to yourself. And honestly, as a woman, you can't even meet your own ideal standards. So why the heck are you expecting that out of a guy who doesn't have the same brain chemistry that you do?
Oh my God, I feel so bad for my boyfriend right now. That's what I do to him all the time. I'm always
why would you do that? Why would you? Because women respond very well. Well, I'm not saying very well, like we should encourage this. We respond more sensitively to shame, to being ostracized, because herd mentality, like, to look at evolutionary psychology, if you're in the out group, like socially, if you're in the out group, that's not safe and you could die. If there's no one caring for you, if you're
Right.
not partnered, if you don't have somebody protecting and providing for you, you will perish, right?
Sure.
Your brain doesn't forget that. Though we are a few thousand plus years out of that, your brain doesn't forget that you have this experience of wanting to be protected. And so you do these manipulative things to try and get that protection by shaming them, because we're very strength sensitive to shame. It's like the scene in Mean Girls. It's like, oh, that's the prettiest skirt ever. And that girl walks away feeling really confident. And she's like, that's the ugliest effing skirt I've ever seen.
Right.
We are really passive aggressive. And instead of doing that, take ourselves at face value, right? We need to be a person of our own word, right? Like the 4 agreements, have integrity with your word and be impeccable with your word to yourself and to others. And so don't expect men to be like women. Instead, learn their nuances, learn their differences. And I think analytically we get angry and we get contemptuous and critical because deep down a part of us is envious that they don't think the way we do.
Yes. You know what? You are spot on. You're right.
I just look at my partner sometimes and I'm just like, what is it like to be so secure and chill and like truly grounded? And he's like, it's great. And I'm just like, wish I had your brain, right?
You know what's so funny?
Estrogen is so frustrating to deal with because
wait till menopause, honey.
Yeah.
Wait till you start going through menopause. Just wait. I'm like, my head, I'm like, well, I don't even know what I'm going to feel when I wake up in the morning. I'm like, oh, what day is today? And how am I going to, what's Jen going to be like today?
Hormones play a huge part of it. It totally does. Huge. And that's, again, we're honoring and respecting those differences. Like, I am me and I can only expect myself to be me. He is him. I can only expect him to be who he's shown me to be, and build up enough trust to answer that. Another question you had earlier, that like trust versus benefit of the doubt continuum is what I teach on a lot. In order to give somebody the benefit of the doubt, you have to have trust established, in my view.
Agree.
So give them enough time and space to show you who they truly are, not who you're painting them to be or manipulating their words to be. Like, let them show you who they are. You build up enough trust. They're congruent. They've said they're going to call every Sunday at 6. They've called every Sunday at 6. I have no reason to doubt that they wouldn't. So anytime your brain starts creeping in and goes, but my other boyfriend, stop. Do not compare the person you're currently with to any other person or any other template either, because you don't like when you're compared to other people. Men have feelings too, though they express them differently and they're more opinion based, and that's their self-extension. They don't like being compared either.
No,
right.
Don't.
And so don't do the comparisonitis to yourself or to your partner. I have no reason. I have no reason not to believe you. I have no reason. You've never given me a reason to doubt you. And I don't need you. I don't need to give you the benefit of the doubt, because I don't doubt you if I trust you. So it's kind of reorienting the way that you think and relate. You don't fit this bill, so I'm just going to force you into it, or I'm going to punish you and manipulate you into doing that and make you feel wrong and bad whenever you, my guy, don't fit this unrealistic standard that I'm projecting upon you.
God, these poor guys. I
know.
Like, If co-parenting during a pandemic taught us anything, it's that you need proof your kids are safe. With alcohol abuse on the rise, many co-parents are turning to the no-nonsense system committed to providing proof, protection, and peace of mind. Soberlink's alcohol monitoring system is the most convenient, reliable, and reasonable way for a parent to provide evidence that they are not drinking during parenting time. Soberlink's real-time alerts make it easy to negotiate with any party. Judges rest assured that the child is safe. Attorneys get court-admissible evidence of sobriety, and both parents have empowerment and peace of mind. Do divorce right and trust the experts in remote alcohol monitoring technology to keep your kids safe, happy, and well-adjusted. To download the guide, 5 non-negotiables for embracing a new normal that I developed with Soberlink, visit www.soberlink.com/DRR. Right? Like my son said to me the other day, he's in college, he's a freshman, and I said, well, you have to make sure that you do this, honey, because if you do that, it might hurt Jake's. He's like, I'm a guy. We don't, Mom, I'm a guy. We don't think like that. He's like, I don't think that way. He's cool. We're cool, Mom. We say how we feel. We talk. It's done. It's over. I move on.
It's squashed.
Like, that's it. I'm like, God, it must be nice.
Yeah.
God,
they don't have to be, because that is not, if you, again, like therapeutically, that's not a defense mechanism, and evolutionarily, that's not a skill. That's not a trait that they need to employ. That's not their concern. Right. And it's enviable, and it's jealousy inducing at times that we channel as women and project onto our male partners, I think, ineffectively. There's a way to say, like, gosh, I wish I could have that ability to just chill out. Do you have any tips? Right?
I'm going to
And
do
I
that
would love
tonight.
to share those
I'm going to
opinions.
do that tonight. I'm going to say to,
And
I'm going to
then
say to my boyfriend tonight.
take their, that's the other piece too, to be very mindful of. How we as women relate to our feelings is how men relate to their opinions. So our feelings are like a self-extension. And if I share how I feel with you and you tell me, get over it, it's not a big deal, it's invalidated in some way, I
Yes.
feel as a human shut down. For men, when they share their opinion on something and we shut them down, well, that's not what you think. Well, that's not right. Well, I think this instead, because opinions like us come and go, right? For women, I like this dress, I don't like this dress. I do this, I don't do this. That's not the case for men. And
No,
so
he's
we
so
can
offended.
be really mindful of our communication pattern with men as women. What do you think about this? And they share that with us. Even if you disagree, if you want to be in a relationship, just say, okay, right?
Oh my
That
God,
sounds
Talia,
good.
you're right. When I say something about his opinion, he is like, can't believe it.
I would get defensive too if
He does. He
that's
gets
how I
defensive.
feel about my feelings when they get invalidated, and I
Oh,
have
yeah.
a strong masculine tendency. So same thing with my opinions.
Oh my God, you're right.
So just
That is so true.
interact with them the way that they respond to well, not the way that you would respond to well. And it's
Oh my
okay
God.
to have a difference of opinions, but that's also why I'm very good at just the acknowledgement and release of like, okay, he's sharing about something that I actually don't have a strong opinion on, and he clearly does. So my opinion doesn't really have space here.
You're
Like it's not
you
going to
win.
be
Who cares?
welcome. So that's fine. And I'm
Oh my
not going
gosh,
to
you're
sit
so
there and
smart.
make him feel wrong or bad because we have a difference of opinions. Just respect
Right.
that it's a difference. And it at the end of the day, is it really going to make an impact on your relationship? Likely not if it's opinions about external world,
But what about a
right?
guy who like is a fact guy? Right. So mine's a fact. I fact
Yes.
guys in my
Yes.
life is I collect fact guys who have to
Mhm.
prove everything. Like I'll be talking and all of a sudden like I'll say something and he'll like look down at his phone and I'm like,
Mhm.
are you Googling that? Are you Googling that? And he's like, no. I'm like, yes, you're Googling to make sure that it's what I said was true. Did you see how? And I'm so like,
Yes.
I can't believe he's freaking Googling something like
Mhm.
to prove if like to make sure I'm right or
Yes.
wrong. That's hurtful,
Yeah.
Talia.
So the reason why he's doing that is not intentionally to
I
hurt you.
know.
So if this
Our
comes up,
therapist
right,
said that. Yes. I know.
to separate it, men base their opinions, again, they're opinion based
Yeah.
creatures. Men base their opinions off facts
I
and
know.
trusted sources.
Well, I hate that, Talia.
Most women do. And trusted sources are people who are congruent and do what they say they're going to do. So if you text a guy, oh, I'm going to go to bed, I'm going to fall asleep, and you're up on Instagram for another hour, or you're texting him for another hour, he goes, I can't trust this lady. She's not doing what she says she's going to do.
Oh God, you're so right. You are so right. It's so funny because I'm listening to you and you are like so right. You were so good. You were so
Thank
good.
you.
You are really, and it's funny. Like I feel like the cobbler's kids go without shoes is my life because I can coach anybody. I'm like the best
yes.
dating coach. But yesterday I did a
Yes.
reel about like not writing epic texts, that it's really important not to write those long, lengthy texts.
They don't
And
read them.
my ex-husband, he sent
Yes.
me a whole list, like a long, lengthy text that I sent him
Mhm.
3 days before. And he's like, I just saw this Instagram reel with this girl that talked about not sending long, epic texts. He was talking about me. I was like, thanks, Mark. Thanks a lot. He's like, Jen, he's like, you're a great coach for you, girl. Yeah. He's like, you better be careful.
Might be a blind spot. Yeah. Yeah. There
So
also might be something about, because I don't know if you're familiar with the Enneagram or those other kind of
Of course.
assessments.
Yes.
But the type 5 is often like the researcher, the analyst, kind of more the college brain.
Yes.
Like they love facts. So you might also be attracted to
Of course
somebody
I
who
am.
has more of that typology. So like it's a double whammy.
Yeah.
Men are typically like that. And if that's their typology, they're especially like that.
I collect them. I collect type
Yeah.
5s. A collector, whatever they are. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I cannot even. Okay, wait a minute. So something else to ask you. Do you mind if we go a little bit longer? I'm keeping
Of course.
Okay. Resentment.
Yes.
I
Aged
know.
anger.
Okay. Is resentment based off of envy or is it packed down anger?
That's a really great question. I think if we start to feel a strong emotion, typically anger, about something we are envious of, then yes, I think
Okay.
envy could be like part of the equation. But resentment is really aged anger. And we don't usually talk about this is like why Yelp exists, right?
Right.
Like 5 stars or 1 stars. We don't talk about things unless we really, really love them or really, really dislike them. Most of the time, we're not talking about like, oh, it was a decent burrito. I would probably eat it again. It's like, this was the best burrito I have ever had. Or like 1 star, this was the worst service. You
You're
do the
right.
same thing in relationships. Oh my gosh, he did this thing and it was amazing and phenomenal in this. Or he's an idiot. He did the worst thing ever.
You're
You
right.
don't stop to slow down and like appreciate every time your partner or you hit the good shots, right? Just appreciate the average every day. You made the bed, you did this. And I mean, don't overdo it,
I
but
get it.
resentment builds when you're not being acknowledged, when you're not being appreciated, when you're
Yes.
not being understood,
Yes.
seen, heard, right? Validated in the relationship. And we get resentful because we don't ask for our needs to be met. We don't identify our own needs, or we do those things and they're not being met in the relationship.
That's exactly right.
And then we become resentful. That's when I work with clients to slow it way down. Let's rewind it and take a look at, is this a need or a want?
Sure.
We have to categorize them separately. Not, you don't need everything, right? You don't need the trash to be taken out. You don't need the cars to be washed. You want those things.
Yes.
And they're inanimate objects. They don't have needs.
No, they don't.
So what is it going to be like then when you approach it from, I'm feeling some resentment and I'm going to use that as a catalyst for me to say something and make a more direct request to be heard, to be understood, to be listened to, validated, etc., versus punishing the partner you're with and making them figure out, right? We do this to other women, so we do this to men too.
Why do we do this? Those tough conversations, they shouldn't just say it.
Right. Yeah. Because then how we usually prove our worth, our love, etc., is like, well, if you figured it out, you would really love me.
Or if you knew, you should know.
Yeah,
you should already know.
Should is a word to eliminate from your vote. And I tell clients, like, stop shoulding all over yourself for the other person. Like, it's not helpful.
Right.
Nobody should do, like, sure, they could, right? They could do it and they're not. And why does that have to mean anything about you? What if it's just a preference for them and it's not personal to you? Are you okay with yourself enough that they might not want to honor one of your wants or needs? And if they're doing it continually, don't stay and get resentful. Do the work, see if you can change it. If not, leave. And understand that that person is not going to be a good fit for your wants and needs. To your point, do it in the beginning. Fly it early and often. Be honest from the start. You're much less likely to get resentful. And if you are feeling resentful, you need to work on your assertiveness training and your assertiveness communication, because then you can cut it off at the pass when something happens.
Okay, now I have another question, because you're so good at this. It's like these little segues that you're throwing me here, these little like biscuits of whatever they're called. Okay.
Thank you.
So assertiveness, when is it assertive? And when are you, as my lovely partner will say, I'm not even going to say the word, bitchy.
Passive aggressive.
Or assertive, like when does your assertiveness become like where he's like,
aggressive.
Thinks you're a bitch? Aggressive. Thank you. When does assertive turn into aggressive? How do you play that game?
Great question. I think assertive turns into aggressive largely with your tone and cadence. How are you delivering what you're delivering? And are you including some sort of, and sometimes it's subconscious, like you're not aware that you do this, but you do this with other people and they never said anything about it. So you're like, oh, I do this with other people. Why do they care? Are you attacking their character in some way? Are you putting them down in some way? Are you not recognizing that it might not be a good time for them to have a talk, right? Like you want to bring something up and they're like, hold on, you always do that. Well, that's going to be off to a bad start from the beginning, right? So can you match with them and share it calmly, genuinely, and give yourself kind of some grace and give them some grace and swallow the pill first, so to speak? It's like, hey, I know I messed up the other day, or I know I'm going to have a problem, because problems have solutions. I have a problem with this. I'd love your help on coming up with a solution. Like, come at it from more of a collaborative, strengths-based approach. And that's how I think you can prevent being assertive from coming off as bitchy or coming off as passive aggressive. Be direct, be kind, be impeccable with your word, and let the other person, or allow rather, like create a space is the best way to put it, for the other person to feel like they have a contribution that you're actually going to honor, versus them just getting yelled at or patronized or criticized. Like, give space for them to actually give feedback of what may have been going on in their head to lead to what you're needing to assert yourself on. Oh, well, men create lists differently than women do in their mind. They do this and they protect us without them saying it to us, but we are so verbal as creatures.
So verbal.
It's how we survived. Everything. We have to, because back in hunter-gatherer days when men are out hunting, if you gave away your location, the lion would eat you, right? Women survived off of, don't eat that berry, don't do this, do that.
Right.
We survived off communication. and we have to communicate, but we go into a different place in our brain when we're talking to men. We go into the gathering mode, as one of my mentors likes to call it, and we're in doing this and this, and we tell them all about our day, and
I
they're
know.
like,
Mine's
get
like,
to the
please stop
point, get to the
talking. Mine's
point,
like,
get to
he
the
does this
point.
to
What
me.
is
He
the
does
point?
this. You know what this is?
Yes.
But people can't see it. A stapler.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a stapler. Like, staple it.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Let's
get to the point, Jen. Move
Wrap
it
it
on.
up, right?
I don't need every detail. I'm like,
Yes.
but I want to tell you every detail. Why don't you
Yes.
want to hear it all?
Because we feel safe. If we
Yes.
tell a man every detail, that's actually, for men and women listening, that's our signal of, I feel safe enough to trust you with the details and information.
Oh,
So if
that
you
makes me
can
happy
tell
because I
your
do.
partner that, it makes it sometimes easier for them to go, oh, she's doing this because she loves me and
Oh.
she feels safe with me. I can tolerate a few minutes, and you can give him a heads up. Hey, I'm going to walk you down the story. Feel free to tune out at any point. I'll sit down next to you when I'm going to tell you the point that I need you to know.
Yes.
And then they'll be like, okay.
He does.
Like, being more direct and assertive is like, hey, I'm saying this to you because I love you, because I care about our relationship. I would appreciate fill in the blank.
Right.
I would like or not like fill in the blank.
Right. And then it gets to the point where later I'm like, well, you weren't even listening to me. And he's like, well, Jennifer, you talk a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm like, oh. So then I feel, you know, we laugh about it because how can he listen to everything I say? I mean, it's impossible. It is. I even start things with like, well, then she said, and then he sees like, Jen, this isn't, I cannot.
I don't care.
No. He's like, I don't care, Jen.
Correct.
I love you, but I don't give two fucks. No.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I can't even. Okay, Talia, I am obsessed with you.
Thank you.
I feel like I need to. I just have the best guests on the show. I'm sorry, I do. I bring great people for you guys, for my listeners.
Got good energy. I love it.
I love it. It's awesome. Did I miss anything important? Yes, I did.
Yes.
See, I told you to remind me about your program. See?
So I have an Insight Masterclass that I spent probably like over a year curating. It's based on, so it's video lessons for me about some of the stuff that we've talked about today. There are assessments that are hand curated that help every individual, whether you're part of a couple or not. Taking that assessment helps you to learn yourself in a deeper way and understand the way you tick. What is the way that you attach to people? What is your communication style? What is your Enneagram? The love languages, apology languages, and we go into some deep assessments from how your childhood template does in fact influence the way that you date and relate in your adulthood. So there's not only the assessment research base, like here's your typology, here are all your traits. Then I go into, and these are how they play in to your male and female romantic dynamics, your friendships, the way you relate to other women, the way you relate to men. So it gives you like a full circle experience of here's why you are the way you are. Here's how to change the parts that you've uncovered that you don't like. That's not for me to decide. You do that. If you want to work with me one-on-one, you can email me during that course.
Great.
And then you also get information that you need to know about, okay, now that I know, what do I do with this, right? How do I connect to other people based on that type? How do I make sure I don't blow up my relationship by expecting men to be like women? And how do I make sure I'm relating to them in a way that they feel heard so that I can be related to in a way that I feel heard? So it gives you a deeper understanding of yourself and a deeper understanding of how to have a wonderful relationship and partnership that can last a very long time.
I mean, that sounds fabulous. So if anybody, that's going to be, I'm going to put it in the show notes and everything. And the best place to find you is besides
on Instagram. Yes. At Talia Bombola. And then my website is the same, www.taliabombola.com.
Which will all be in the show notes. So everybody follow Talia on Instagram. It's awesome. I love your feed. I love you. I think you're fantastic.
Thank you.
And I was going to say one more thing, but I can't remember. Oh, will you do me a favor? Will you give me, what's one thing you want to say to everybody, like whether it's about assertiveness or whatever, before you go, a little soundbite for me.
Yeah, a little soundbite.
Something that you want my listeners to know. Does that put you on the spot?
I think, yes. No, I appreciate it. It gets my brain juices flowing. I think one nugget of wisdom that I would like people to know is there is merit in the phrase or the motto, as deeply as you know yourself is as deeply as another person can know you. And though I don't think you have to love yourself in order to let somebody love you, it makes it a lot easier to recognize when another person is loving you, when you've done the work on yourself and you do love yourself and accept all parts of yourself. Because when that other person shows up and they're ready to love you and they're ready to show you that they're there for you and they're not going to leave you despite if they see, the darkest parts of your life, if you don't believe that yet, it will not turn out the way that you want it to. And that can lead to that feedback loop of, well, I'm not enough and everybody leaves and I'm not enough. You can stop that wheel at any point in the cycle by doing the deep inner work on yourself, being open and receptive to loving yourself while other people can love you. So I think it takes two. You have to do the inner work on yourself, and you have to be out dating and relating with other people to help heal those wounds. And there's nothing wrong with you. You don't need fixing. You're not broken. There's tweaks that you can make because you were not taught this growing up. This is a learned skill. This is a decade and a half worth of research and training, et cetera, coming at you, that these are learned skills.
Yep.
Don't get so stuck in the narrative that you're broken or you're wrong or it is the way it is, because that's not the case. The more deeply you love yourself and know yourself, the more deeply and the more open you are to allowing another person to know you and love you in the same way.
Talia, I love that. I love it. I love it. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, everybody.
I appreciate you.
It went so fast. I'm like, oh my gosh, I could talk to you for hours. Okay, so everyone follow Talia, and I feel like everyone should go to you first and then come to me, and we make a great team. And I think that's awesome. But go to whoever. Don't do it alone. Just don't do it alone. Reach out for help. And you know what? I'm starting to see a new therapist. I'm so excited about that tomorrow. So yay, we'll see what happens. But big changes in life and all this good stuff. Everybody do something for yourself, meditate or go for a walk or do something good. And that's it. That's all I got for you. Oh, you can find me, JenniferHurwitz.com. I'm everywhere on Instagram and doing that fun stuff. But besides that, everyone, peace, love, and so much truth. Thank you for being here, Talia. And that's it. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.